Hello and welcome to the EEPROM 9. So, today's video, we are fixing this. The CASIO Personal M-1 electronic calculator from sometime in the 70s, because why the hell not? Because I acquired him in the post and he was like, it was basically, I saw him on eBay, he was £4, I brought him, I didn't even read the description, turns out as a bonus he doesn't work. Although I have found if you get power to him, he does work because he suffers from the classic problem that a lot of these old handheld calculators do, that if you open the battery compartment and peer in there, surprise, surprise, we have battery leakage corrosion. So this is a very simple, well-known fix that we basically need to break off the bit of the connector that's basically dissolved. And yes, I have powered this up and it does work. I've also realised I haven't wet my soldering sponge because we might need to remove the battery thing from the circuit board. So yeah, as you can see, my workbench here is a bit of a cluttered mess, and stuff likes to fall over randomly too because, well, that's just the way it goes sometimes. You know, if there's something to be said for Big Clive's avalanching desk, trust me, he's not the only one. I mean, my Kovac calculator is literally covered in probes and bits of tissue from where I've been painting on here. I'll give you a preview of one of the things I still need to finish, but he is in process. My brother's had this since the 90s. He's left it unpainted since then as well. And I'm actually painting it because why the hell not? I need to go down the model shop and pick up some more paints though. Namely gold and orange. They're the two colours I need. So we'll pop these screws out. Back when they used to refer to them as computer corporation. Back in the day. One little thing I think is quite neat. When you switch the switch to on, there's a little green dot in there. That is actually a pretty nice little thing just to tell you which part is on or off, because otherwise you're left basically guessing. But yeah, it complies to the usual CASIO look, although a bit more less CASIO-y with the nice aluminium sheeting over the calculator. So once you get those two screws out, the rest of it just basically clips together. We want him to stay in the bottom half of the case, but he might be a bit stubborn. The rest of it is all held together with clips, which is pretty standard. That made a very unhappy noise there, but nothing broke. Now we can pop this unit out, which is the unit that has suffered from the battery corrosion. So there's the back of the case, which needs a bit of a clean out, so we can do that live on camera. I say live, we're doing this bit Big Clive style. Patches over there, vinegar. We might not need to. Can I mark that somehow? Because that side's orange, that side's brown. Yeah, we can get away with this. So first off, we want to get rid of this because, well, it's just falling apart. So we need our vinegar, which ideally you'd leave it soaking in for a few hours, but we're going to try doing it a bit differently this time. Never mind, he went on the floor. Never mind, he went on the floor. So we have our pot of like really old manky vinegar we've used to dissolve much battery alkali material. Look at that. Doesn't that just look drinkable? Even still smells of vinegar with a hint of rust. And I'm not joking about the hint of rust. So we'll do something we don't normally do. Pour some in the lid. Hopefully I don't spill this over and make a horrible mess. Look at it. It looks... You wouldn't think that was vinegar once, would you? So I'll just let that soak for a bit in there. The nice thing is we're not getting this into the switch contacts, which thankfully have remained unharmed from this whole battery leakage scenario. There it goes. Oh goody, it's dripping on the desk. That's... oh god. Oh god, there's a massive puddle there. Good job I got tissue there. Oh, this stuff is horrible. It's gone absolutely horrible there. Ugh, yuck. Ugh, it's touching me. Blech. The nice thing about actually using vinegar for this kind of process is it's not... and look at that! It's already making a difference. We literally just dipped it in the vinegar. Well... and this is before we started any kind of abrasion. This is where I realised I don't actually have a toothbrush. Despite the fact I keep saving them when they get old, I always seem to run out. They always seem to disappear just as quickly. No, you are not a toothbrush. That's annoying. I don't know what the hell happens to them. Hey look! One of my old key rings. I wonder where all this was. I just found it. I'll probably forget it's in here again. I usually do. That's just more probes. Right, the only other place where there's going to be old toothbrushes is in here. And nope, no toothbrushes. So yeah, I saved a toothbrush for this exact purpose, and he's gone missing again, like they always do. Oh, hang on. No, I just found him. I just found two of him. Now I've got to get him out. This is what I do with my old toothbrushes. And yes, I use an electric toothbrush, because electric toothbrushes can't be beat. They just do a far, far better job than doing it manually. Because what we want to do is get this to a state we can solder to it. Because we're going to solder a new plate on there to do just this. So yeah, you can see that good. So we just let him sit in there like that. Because already the vinegar's doing its job, and we're literally just putting it on for like a few seconds. Luckily this doesn't have the problem that the Royal Digital calculator had of a smashed VFD tube. It's cleaning up the other one as well as I brush it on. But yeah, this is basically the process to do a battery acid corrosion or alkaline corrosion. If it's an acid, then you use baking soda, and if it's a alkaline, you use vinegar. And I have baking soda here as well. In fact, you can often use the baking soda to neutralise the vinegar. So that is actually at a state now we can actually wash that off. So the toothbrush can go back in there because we don't care about cleaning it. That can be done. And this is where we can use our soldering sponge. Yes, you don't have to use your soldering sponge just for soldering. Your minds have been blown. I never understood that whole mind-blowing terminology. What is it supposed to mean? Surprise? Like something you'd never expect? Like you didn't think that was possible? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Right, so we got a battery contact that smells absolutely minging. Ha! Would you look at that? I just noticed that in the case. Look at that! You got like almost the functions of the calculator printed inside the case. I'm guessing that was something to help in manufacturing, because it actually has the keypad layout to a T. That must be what it's for, to tell the operator the keypad layout, so they can just flip it over, look at it, and then they can pop the keys in the correct order. The only thing is it's inverse, so obviously you can check it like that, then you can check it. So that has to be something to do with manufacturing inspection. Because in the 70s it wouldn't have been automated. They didn't have all the lovely computerised systems that we have today. So now we get our Swiss Army knife, who's looking in a very sorry state these days, thanks to my teeth and my impulsive need to chew absolutely bloody everything. See what I mean about this not being a particularly long repair? But I think it's kind of fun to document the process. And we can also ramble about a few things like, I don't know, cheese or whatever. What's your favourite type of cheese? Oh, the fact I just recently found out that my video on Granny's Garden was actually featured on the co-optional Total Biscuits co-optional podcast back in 2013. I did not realise this at the time, thanks to YouTube's crappy comment notification system, which was just as terrible back then as it is now. In fact, it's worse now. Because if I'd have known that, I'd have actually thanked him while he was still alive, but sadly he was taken by cancer in his 40s. And on the subject of famous people who have died that I know of, there's one I learnt of recently. Grant Imahara from Mythbusters recently died, and it wasn't of COVID. And he's only like in it, and he was only in his early 40s, which I find so sad. You know, he was like the robotics expert. Apparently, he was the only one who was actually had an engineering degree on the whole crew. But yeah, him and Adam would join in, and they actually worked at Industrial Light and Magic, and that, and would nerd out over a lot of the same things. So him and Grant got on really well. And it's just such a shame for someone to die at that age. And there's going to be many people who aren't famous and aren't known who also die at young ages. It does happen, unfortunately. And the whole COVID pandemic hasn't helped. And yes, I learnt the difference. I had the terms for epidemic and pandemic wrong. I thought epidemic was pandemic and pandemic was epidemic. No, I was wrong. Epidemic is small contained outbreak. Pandemic is when it goes widespread, like for example around the whole world. And if I'd been sensible, I would have switched on my soldering iron. And yes, we still use my precision gold one. And yes, for those who do wonder, I still have my Antex one, but the cable's all wrapped up into itself and it's staying over there. And then when we've done this and got him back in place, we will show you the circuit board, because then it saves having to take him apart in his calculator overview. We also need a sheet of something that can solder to connect it. So that's still springy, so that's still good. So I can reuse this chunk, which is good. I just need... hang on, let me think. What have I got sitting around on the desk I can use? Whoops. So I start knocking things over, looking for some little bit of sheet metal I can solder to. Is this solderable? If it is, I use this. Yep, he is solderable. Okay, I'll use him. I don't know what this is off of, I don't remember. So we first repair that hole with solder. And yes, he's taking solder, which is good. Not very well. In fact, he's taking solder pretty poorly, so... But yeah, I find that kind of a shame, really. You know, 2020, all in all, has been a bit of a shit year, really. It really has. You know, so many people have died who haven't. You know, Trump continues to be an absolute tyrant. I mean, I've now learned that he's been sending out goon squads in basically unmarked cars to kidnap people with a black bag over their heads and then siphon off a whole load of personal information and fingerprints and that. So you know, he's only about one step ahead of like pulling protesters off the street and shooting them in the back of the head, and then I suppose the next step would be like kicking them in a shallow ditch that would then be covered up for decades. So yeah, fuck Trump, and also fuck the CCP for unleashing this fucking contra-virus on us and their continued destruction of people's liberties in Hong Kong. Woo, we're getting political, but we're getting political for the right reasons. And people's freedoms are certainly the right reasons to get political. It's like now you've got people outraging about having to wear face masks, which is just so stupid. That's going to earn you the Darwin Award of getting the plague and dying. Hopefully this vaccine can become a thing, because that's about the only time it's going to end with the completely lacklustre quarantine response of most governments. You know, the UK government was far too late in issuing the quarantine. They'd have saved a lot more lives if they'd issued it as soon as they realised it was out of containment. But instead, no, they have to do it the terrible way and issue it too late, and they're releasing it too late, and the US has released their quarantine, and it's just like they're in the fucking midst of this thing. You know, the US should be in absolute complete lockdown. So yeah, at this rate, not only is the Chicago trip being cancelled this year, it's looking like it's going to be cancelled for next year as well, which is a double whammy because I always really enjoy that trip. So much fun is had. It's great meeting up with the US colleagues. You know, I do all the vices apart from drugs, because drugs just aren't my thing. But I'll do all the other vices because they're actually kind of fun. Do on occasion. Right, I'm hoping that will take solder now. Oh yeah, that's better. That's right, we need that blob of solder over that. There we go. That's what we want. Oh, I accidentally blobbed the Alright, so we need a strip that is about that big. Oh god. You can't see this bit. I almost burnt myself on a soldering iron as well. So, standard soldering session for me. 10 snips. Seriously, if you don't... Whoops. Whoops. I hope the VFD survived that. I think it did. Yeah. It did. That was lucky. If you don't have a set of tin snips, go out and buy them. Audi are doing them cheap. That's when I got mine. But you don't think I'm going to pay a lot of money, do you? It's kind of fun. It makes me laugh. Loads of people are just like, "Oh, you're such a stingy sod." Just like, you're such a stingy sod who never wants to spend any money, and it's just like, that's coming from people with like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds in credit card debt. It's like, oh, and then you'll get these same people like, "Oh, you should have a credit card." And it's just like, yeah, and they've gotten you into thousands of pounds worth of debt that you will never pay off in your lifetime. I think I'll pass on that, thanks. And I'll stick to not having a credit card and not being thousands of pounds in unpayable debts. Because things like my mortgage, I can actually afford. Funnily enough. And it turns out to be kind of important to be able to afford such expenses. In fact, not only can I afford it, I can save while doing it. It's like so many people try and live outside their means, it's like crazy. I don't get it. I understand if you're in a bit of a crappy situation, but I do not understand this living outside your admissible means. You know, I can imagine I wouldn't be the most popular with the banks and such, because I'm not one of those people that has this inbuilt need to spend that so many people seem to have this like legitimate problem with. Right, okay, that's him soldered on. Good, the springy steel is still springing. I'm assuming it's steel. There we go, just pop him in like that. Just so it holds him out the way. We will have to move him. And now we can fold. Those contacts feel very weak, like they want to snap. We can show you the internals, and this is the last time I really want to take him apart, because yeah, they don't feel very strong. They don't feel like they're not going to break and then I'm going to have to fix them. At least the keypad's on with screw buttons, and yeah, it just feels like your standard membrane. I don't see any need to take it off. So we will pop him back together. Pop in the batteries. Because the trouble is you get metal fatigue. But yeah, single IC, I didn't look at what type of IC it is, but I can look back on the video and research the chipset later, but they quite often use standard chipsets in these old calculators. So now we just need to clean out the back of this horrible gump. So we grab our alcohol spray, which I managed to get in the worst of the COVID pandemic, because, well, it's labelled Tesco's lens cleaning spray, and no one actually knows what their stuff they're buying is actually made out of. Always read the ingredients. Like Lutetrol, don't know what that is. Isopropyl alcohol in a solute, so it's obviously been watered down. But the best way to tell, smell it. And in fact, I can just smell it on here because we got the second camera on the actual laptop itself running up there. So yeah, we will do just that. I'll try and do it on camera so you guys can see it. Then we just grab a tissue which is covered in paint and other gunk and just wipe it off. I'm hoping this has been reasonably visually interesting enough. Let me know what you think of the camera config. Because this is long form, I couldn't do it with the Sony camera because of its stupid overheating issue it has. You know, I'm wondering how Sony managed to become such a dominant player in the camera market when their cameras suffer from such woefully flawed issues such as overheating randomly that no other manufacturer has. I mean, I know their modern cameras don't do it, but all their older cameras were well known for it. People took the piss out of them for years because of it. You look in photography groups and that, people are like laughing at Sony all the time because they're overheating cameras. It's like, seriously? And yeah, the image stabilization in that camera ain't worth a damn. It's certainly no Fuji. Yeah, I am a bit of a fanboy of my Fuji, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so we'll pop him out and pop him into here. Let's do it so you can see it on camera. You know, much like Big Clive would. How many of you guys actually watch Big Clive? I absolutely love his content. He's like one of my favourite YouTubers these days. Another favourite YouTuber of mine who's quite recent is Adrian Black. Because he does all the computer restorations and stuff. but he does it from a really technical aspect. And the guy actually seems to have a similar sort of skill set and skill range to my own level of repair. So I actually find it really quite fascinating. You know, he seems to have the same sort of level-based knowledge as me, just from watching what he does and the methods he goes through for troubleshooting. You know, it's nice. It's nice to see someone else who sort of is like that. So, shall we pop the batteries in and see it power up perfectly first time, as long as I didn't smash this VFD, which I don't think I did. Oh, that would be disappointing if I did. Wouldn't be the first time I fucked up like that. Boom! And the batteries are nice and reliable. Let's bring him closer to the camera, so we can do the classic 1 divide 9 equals that times 9, and then of course every 4-function calculator gets this wrong. It's only the scientific calculators that get this right. It should be 1. But it goes 9 reoccurring for infinity, and these only have so much in their buffer. Interestingly, the Electronica MK52 gets it wrong. But yeah, you can do that. You can do square root of 5, which thankfully you enter like you would on a reverse Polish notation calculator. Percentage is still just as goddamn impossible to enter as in a standard calculator, not like the nice HP12C. So yeah, that is the CASIO fixed, and that took under half an hour to do. So yeah, quick fix, Big Clive style, because Big Clive is awesome. So is Adrian Black. I'd highly recommend looking up his YouTube channel if you haven't done so. But yeah, that's all for now. The calculator is fixed. Oh, the battery just fell out. Whoops. The funny thing is, it isn't the one of the thing I repaired, but we will complete it for you by putting the screws in. I like it when a project comes together like this. So, he is now ready to go on display with the rest of my vintage calculator collection, who is growing quite substantially, because I'm a pack rat. I'm a pack rat hoarder. But I don't hoard packs of crisps and stuff. I hoard old vintage electronics. The kind of stuff you wouldn't throw away in your right mind. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That works nicely. All the digits work. It errors because if you do divide by 0, so 1 divide 0, no, 1 divide 0 gives you a little error. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy, and yeah, bit of a video extravaganza, but I wanted to cover this stuff, and I wanted to cover a video like this for a while. I just haven't had the right project for it, so I keep an eye out for some more broken calculators on eBay to do similar sorts of things if this turns out popular. But for now, thanks for watching.